On Monday morning, I woke up before my alarm clock went off. And unfortunately, I gave into the temptation to check my email. And as I opened up my phone, I saw I only had one email. I thought it would be junk, but instead it was from Lori Wallers. And Lori is the administrative assistant to Archbishop Nienstedt and kind of the Archdiocese. And whenever I get emails from Lori, it's either a good thing. Like one time I got an email early in the morning saying we had an auxiliary bishop of Bishop Cousins a couple years ago. That was a good one. Or a bad thing. Of course, this one on Monday morning was not good. It was bad. So I opened up that email. I quickly woke up and I read that Archbishop Nienstedt and Bishop Bechet had submitted their letter of resignation to Pope Francis and that he had accepted it. It went into effect at noon Rome time on Monday, which was 5 o'clock in the morning on Monday. As I started reading the statements from Archbishop Nienstedt and Archbishop Hebda, the apostolic administrator, I started to have many different emotions and feelings. Obviously surprise in one sense, shock, fear, worry, relief. And then I read the statement from Bishop Bechet, in which he explained why he submitted his letter of resignation. And then the emotion that kind of came over me was sadness. I've known Bishop Bechet since I've been in 10th grade. He was the pastor at St. Joe's in West St. Paul at the time, my home parish. And Bishop Bechet has had a huge influence in my life. He is one of my mentors. He was always been there for our family. When my sister Leah got married, he was the celebrant at that marriage. My dad passed away. He was the celebrant at the funeral. I had the joyous occasion of having then Father Bechet vest me in my diaconate ordination. And in turn, when he got ordained a bishop, I was one of the deacons up there in the sanctuary, holding the gospel book over his head and being right by his side. And it's one of my privileges of being a deacon and obviously ordained minister. Of course, he was here a couple years ago when he installed me as pastor of this parish. And for sure that morning, it was Monday morning, after I was reading that email, sadness took over. Probably was there a little bit still now. But I did the best thing I could. I prayed. I prayed for the Archdiocese. I prayed for Archbishop Nienstedt, Bishop Bechet, Archbishop Hebda. I prayed for all victims of clergy sexual abuse. And I prayed for the faithful. The parishioners here, the parishioners throughout the Archdiocese. That this will not keep us away from God. But through all this, even as I celebrated Mass and had to say a different bishop's name, Bishop Bernard, in the Eucharistic prayer, there still is a little bit of being terrified, not knowing what's going to happen next in the midst of this storm. Of course, the word terrified comes up in our gospel today, doesn't it? This, of course, is God's divine providence giving us this beautiful gospel in the midst of this storm that our Archdiocese is going through. There are the disciples in the boat. And the storm is going on all around them. They wake up the Master and says, "Do you not care that we are perishing?" Of course, we too could say this right now in our Archdiocese. Do you not care that people are falling away left and right, that the faithful are leaving because of what have happened? And yet what happens? Jesus calms the storms. And he looks at the apostles and he says, "Why are you terrified? Do you not yet have faith?" Why are you terrified? Do you not yet have faith? And the answer is, no, they don't. They didn't know quite then yet that this truly was a Son of God. They did not yet have the faith that they needed to get through this storm. For ourselves right now in this storm, do we have faith in God? What is the crux of our religion? What is the crux of being a Christian? Is faith in the resurrection. Knowing that the resurrection is not a one-time event in a certain sense, but it's affected the whole world. And that in the resurrection, Jesus has brought life, has brought faith, has brought hope, has brought joy, even in the midst of storms, even in the midst of turmoil. On Monday evening, we have the opportunity as priests to go down to Rochester. This is something that's been planned for 2 years now. Every 2 years, we always get together. And Bishop Cousins himself said it's God's divine providence that we are together here tonight for this assembly from Monday night until Thursday morning. And it was a great time to be together with brother priests, to be able to talk, to share, to pray. There's nothing like having 200 priests with you celebrating the Eucharistic prayer. It's a beautiful sound of joy. But on Monday night, Bishop Cousins addressed us. And as they closed the doors so the press would stay away, that was a unique situation. As they closed the doors, this addressed the priest, Bishop Cousins did. And he said right away he doesn't have all the answers. But he gave us a piece of advice. And it comes from Pope Francis's recent encyclical. Not the one he just put out on Thursday, but the one 2 years before that, called Joy of the Gospel. And he said that this paragraph has got him through this storm the last 18 months, since he's been ordained a bishop. I've shared this paragraph in my bulletin article for this week as well, but I want to share it right now in the homily from Pope Francis' encyclical, because I think it talks about how the resurrection helps us through storms, helps us through times that darkness seems to be overwhelming us. This is what it states. Christ's resurrection is not an event of the past. It contains a vital power which has permeated this world, where all seems to be dead. Signs of the resurrection suddenly spring up. It is an irresistible force. Often it seems that God does not exist. All around us we see persistent injustice, evil, indifference, and cruelty. But it is also true that in the midst of darkness, something new always springs to life, and sooner or later produces fruit. On raised land, life breaks through, stubbornly, yet invincibly. However dark things are, goodness always reemerges and spreads. Each day in our world, beauty is born anew. It rises transformed through the storms of history. Values always tend to reappear under new guises. And human beings have arisen time after time from situations that seem doomed. Such is the power of the resurrection. And all who evangelize are instruments of that power. The resurrection, my brothers and sisters, always wins. Christ is always victorious. There have been storms in the history of the church over and over and over again. There's been storms in our own personal life, haven't there been? And yet, who is with us? Christ. We go back to the gospel. Christ is not on the shore in the boat. Christ is not walking on water in this gospel story. Where is he? He's in the boat. He's with them. Christ is with us now. Christ is with us in this archdiocese. He's with us in this church. His victory always wins, and it will again. My brothers and sisters, our local church, our archdiocese does so many good things, so many great things. This will not define us. The church is not made up of bishops and priests only. No. The church most explicitly is made up of you, the parishioners, the people of God. Christ will win. The resurrection is already starting to take place in this diocese. What we need to do is listen to God's words, Jesus' words, and say, why are you terrified? Do you not yet have faith? Let us put our faith in the resurrection. Let us put our faith in Christ. Let him spring forth anew in our local church the beauty, the joy, the grace of the gospel. Let our faith increase, and let us put our trust in him.